Welcome to the DATRE Transcripts. Transcript 017. DATRE answers to John W. John. We have some questions from John W. In DATRE's answer to a previous question, he mentioned what he referred to as the wise men who were very, very old and could look pretty well any age they desired to look like. His question relative to that, is this like the Castaneda story of the tenant? An ancient sorcerer who changed his appearance to female and possessed understanding of other realities. I thought this was pure fiction when I read The Art of Dreaming, and quite disappointed me as I found out a lot of his other stories regarding the other states of awareness and spiritual physicality to be quite interesting. Could you explore this subject? DATRE. Well, what we refer to as the wise men are those that are able to be on the planet for long periods of time. You see, they know who they are. In other words, when you know who you are, and you have the ability to work with the body in such a way that you can keep it from that which you call aging. There is a group of peoples in Mexico that live very high in a mountainous area. They are completely cut off from the rest of civilization. However, there have been but a very few people that have been allowed to go up and, shall we say, visit them, because if they have people that come up and disturb their vibrations up there, they will not be able to do the things that they do. In other words, these are remnants of a previous civilization. They have a great deal of knowing. They know how to work with the physical construct. They are many, many years old, and they are able to cut off a limb and grow it back. They are a very unique people. The reason that they stay secluded is because in that way they keep the vibrations in a constant order. Now what happens with those we call the wise men, we are able to tell you that they are able to do the same thing, in that they are able to maintain a physical construct. Notice, I did not say body. I said a physical construct for a great period of time. You see, those individuals that are able to do that recognize the validity of a physical construct, but know that they are not a body. In other words, that is one of the problems that I do not mean to say problems, but that's the word that best fits the situation. It is something that you as a whole upon the planet do not know for that certainty that you are not your body. Your body construct is entirely separate from that which is you. In other words, people talk about many things, but they still have the belief that they are the body. They are not the body. The body is totally separate construct. Now, when you have respect for that which is your body and work with your body and know your body has a, shall we say, an agenda, the agenda is to work with you and with your psyche so that you are able to have those experiences that you so desire in physicality. In other words, the body has its own validity, but you do not recognize that. So what happens is those that we refer to as the wise men know the importance that the physical construct plays in the whole experience of physicality, which is very different than you understand it to be. In other words, they do not feel that they have to withdraw from society because they mingle in it all the time. But they travel, they move, they contact people, they talk to people. They continue with their enjoyment of being in physicality because they understand physicality. They know who they are, and they have grand experiences because each and everything that they experience adds to that which they are. So what happens is that they move from place to place because that way they do not have people that say, you should be growing old. In other words, you do not grow old in and of yourself. There are others that will tell you that you are growing old and you believe that you are growing old. But it is a combination of that. In other words, how are you going to stay 30 years of age, looking 30 years of age when you have children that are going past you? You can't do that. However, if you are someplace by yourself and experiencing totally by yourself in any direction you wish to go, you are, shall we say, a free spirit, because you do not connect up with people for any period of time. A couple of days with another individual is about as long as they will make a connection with you, and then they will be gone. This is how they exist upon the planet. Now, this is nothing new. There have been those that have been doing this for long periods of time. They will come into physicality They will dip into it. They will obtain a physical body, but then they will be gone because they do not keep any connections. They cannot be tied into any particular area. Now, as to the one that you have mentioned, there is not the familiarity of that one. The only thing that I can say at this time is that perhaps that one is an individual that will very easily disguise his appearance, which can be done. But basically, that individual is still the body it represents on the inside, but can change its outward appearance. Now, you have seen, and I speak to you, John, because you have seen in the what you call past life regressions. You will watch as you have regressed people into various past lives many years ago when you were doing that sort of thing. You and the other people in the room have noticed that the person that is being regressed into a past life, that their face actually changes. They become the face of the one that they are interacting with at another space in what you call your timeline. You have seen that, and others have seen that. John: there is quite a dramatic change in doing that too. DATRE: yes, very definitely. And you can see the dramatic changing in a face of one that is a man into a woman and back and forth again, and many different changes. The whole body structure sometimes will become very masculine, heavy hands and everything, and then it will transform itself into being very feminine looking. And all the time you know who is being regressed into these past lives. Now, to clarify right now, the past life regressions are your terms, not ours. Clarify that right off the bat. Now, there are those that can, with their knowingness, change their appearance to someone else. There are those that can change themselves to the point that they cannot be seen as they walk past other individuals. You are smiling. You have seen Iona do that when she has not wanted to make contact with other individuals. You have been very surprised the first time she did that, but you are used to it now. She, in her thought patterning, has said, I do not want to make physical contact with those individuals. How am I going to get past that doorway? They are standing in the doorway, and she has turned and said to you, I will walk by them, and they will not see me. And they did not. Now, you see there are many things that can be learned in physicality, which is manipulation, but you need to know who you are. You need to know what your body works like. So for an individual like you were speaking of there, that could change the appearance from man to woman, that can be done, but it is not held for any length of time. It is not like they change and stay that way for several years, because that is not the way it works. John: it's more of a projection. DATRE: it is a projection, absolutely, but when you stop and think about it, you are a hologram. What can I say? You are not as solid as you think you are. All right, we have covered that question enough? John: I think we have. DATRE: all right. If there are further questions, we can delve into it further. John: oh, sure. Relative to a question you answered at another point concerning the so-called visitors, John has a further exploration of that. He says, these visitors, I might presume to be part of the great happening, which you mentioned in another session, which is to occur in the near future. Are these beings with whom the abductees of UFO experiences have been in contact with? Is there a possibility that a wrong setting may be brought about if too much is known about the encounter and therefore only scant details are given? DATRE: all right. Now, just recently we covered that situation to quite an extent. Now, these abductions, as they call them, has been a different experience than what they, shall we say, remember on an abduction. You will find that a great many of those abductions are dream experiences. In other words, when the individuals are spoken to and they've been made aware of a situation that they have encountered, it is very difficult for them because it has been so dramatic and traumatic to them. Now, there are women who have said that there have been children that they were starting to have, and they were probably several months into the bearing of a child, and then the child disappeared. All right. There again, one of the things upon your planet that is perhaps one of the most disturbing for most is the great big word called fear. Fear does a great many things. There are women so desirous of bringing forth children that they talk themselves into pregnancy, regardless of what a doctor will tell them. They are convinced, totally and completely, that they are bearing a child, and then the child disappears. Well, there is a great deal of that happening, and one of the reasons for that happening is because of that which they fear. The new energy waves, which we have spoken of before, are coming into this planet. They are affecting people in many different ways. You will find, I could almost guarantee it, that if you were to speak directly to those women that had those experiences, they would have seen the little men with the big eyes. They would be convinced that they took the child, but it is their translation of energy waves. That is where the word alien comes from. It's foreign. It is a foreign wave, and it is an experience that they have that their brain doesn't have a framework for. And when the brain doesn't have a framework for it, fear sets in. The brain can't find anything, and so it becomes something that is foreign, something that is alien. It is a great fear factor. You will find these women that have had their children taken from them, so-called, they are scared. They are frightened to the point of panic because it was something that happened to them that they have no idea of what is all about. So it was within their bodies, and they are going to have to figure out what is happening to themselves. You see, there again, we say we can give you information, but we cannot help you. Realize that these energies are coming in, and if you cannot translate the energy, don't be concerned about it. Don't try and make up a story and get yourself all worked up into a frenzy. All right, next question. John, can I go back on that one a little bit? In your preface to the explanation, you mentioned most as opposed to all. What about the others? What about, like, for the Walton thing in Arizona where a bunch of guys were out logging and they saw this ship and this fellow disappeared in front of them, and that with 3 witnesses and all of that? That's just an example. I don't care about that one in particular. What are those kinds of cases? DATRE, that I cannot tell you, I am sorry. Now, the thing is that something was seen, correct? John, yes. DATRE, all right, it was seen by all of these individuals, correct? Now, could that not have been one of yours, from your own government? John, oh, it definitely could, no question about it. DATRE, all right, now what happened? John, well, he sort of disappeared for a while then. DATRE, what happened to the men? John, they took off. DATRE, they took off. Did they say what happened to him? John, no, not really. They had a relatively consistent story, but the relatively consistent story can be explained in many ways from my vantage point. DATRE, that is correct. From any vantage point, it can be explained. What happened is, he perhaps, I do not know, but he perhaps panicked and fainted. He had encountered something and his brain told him a story. That is entirely possible. You see, when the brain, those things happen. Now, I'm going to leave it at that because I'm trying to explain what different wave energy forms that you are receiving on your planet. And one of the reasons for us being here now is to give you information so that you will not panic. But try and figure out, calm the body, don't get panicky. If you see something, figure it out yourself because you are the only one that can do it. But panic, with the physical construct, creates many pictures. John, we have that kind of phenomena naturally. You can have an event take place like a crime and have 25 witnesses that see everything going on, and yet you interview the 25 witnesses and you have 25 different stories. But that's the way we function, and we don't recognize that. DATRE, of course, you don't recognize. You don't recognize that each individual have their own storyline and put their own pictures in front of them. That's why you don't totally understand. You create your own reality. Your understanding has not gotten to the point where you really, really know the extent of the statement that is given. Continue. John, now this is a subject that we have also dealt with. He says, I know that Seth gave L.S.D. a bad press, but I must admit that it does seem to give a glimpse of something so much vaster. Is this possibly an illusion caused by reducing your perception, making all else seem grander, or is it expanded awareness? DATRE. Well, for any hallucinating drug, as we have stated before, the colors and the things that you see, you put a picture on. But what is happening is your brain cells are dying, and that is what you are seeing. Now, the thing that happens is when you begin to allow yourself, your body, your total package to relax and know who you are and where you are going and what you are all about, you will allow the psyche to work with you and you will travel into other realities. Now, another reality will be viewed and you can come back in here and you cannot explain it, but it is a grand experience. Now, to push yourself, if you want to say push yourself into another reality, that is not as easy as it sounds to be. Because in allowing, you're going to travel further. In pushing, you can go up 16 steps and go to the left, go down an aisle, and see all kinds of things. Fine. But going into another reality is an entirely different experience. Now, the use of drugs by those who knew how to do it, that was different because their culture was different. Those individuals, like your Native American Indians as an example, knew when they had their, whatever they smoked, I do not know, their sweat lodge and those different things that they did, they went with guidance. In other words, if you're going to go into those other realities, you don't go in and push because it will get you no place. But if you go in with one that has the knowledge of how to go into other realities, you will be guided and taken into them for your experience. But they watch you very carefully and they know how far you may go. You may not even get into another reality at all, because if they see that there is fear and you begin to get a strange feeling because you have to in order to go into another reality, you cross a vibrational barrier. That is the only thing that keeps you from sliding from one reality to another, the vibrational barrier that is between them. So, if you are going to go through that, you are also going to have to know how to get back through that. So, to go out through that, you better have someone that can help you, that can bring you back through the same vibrational barrier. You see a lot of that in your fiction, and that has been written in books because the individuals know there is a barrier there, because they have encountered it, so they can write about it, and whatever they write on the other side is okay because you don't know the difference anyway. They know there is a vibrational barrier there. It can be felt, and it has been felt. That is why we say, especially at this time with the vibrations upon your planet changing, do not push yourself into exploration. If you are ready to go into another reality and you know you and your psyche knows you, your psyche will take you in and out, no problem. But that is done with total, shall we say, acceptance, allowance. There is no fear. Because if there is fear, you are not going to do it. Not only that, there are not that many individuals who have worked with the total body package enough years to be able to have a different vibrational pattern than the one they were born with. So you see, if you are going to do any of these things regarding physical matter, you're going to have to know and understand the vibration of your body. Because as you begin to understand and know your body, your hologram, vibrationally, your hologram changes. And that's what makes the difference as to where you can go. So what we're saying here is, are there any more to that question? John, no, that was it. DATRE. All right, fine, but we will leave you with that because it is something that does not happen overnight. It is something that is a learned process. It is learned with a teacher, or it is learned by the self. It does not matter how the learning comes, but you see, the one thing that you need to know, you can't go anyplace without basic knowledge. You know, we hear it said so often, well, I'm not coming back to this physical reality. Well, we certainly can't let you run amok out in the universe. What are you going to do when you get there? We all have things that we do out here. We don't sit around and play tiddlywinks or put our feet up on a desk. John, they'll just go out there and call a taxi. DATRE, no, you can't do that. There is a process of learning that is necessary, and the first thing to learn is this physicality and the planet upon which you reside. Then you will go. As for the hallucinatory drugs, it is not advisable. As to pushing in an exercise to change the pituitary and the pineal and that sort of thing, it is advisable to leave those things alone. Your body will take care of itself. You should not push your body into any type of experiment that you do not know what you are doing, especially now. You will see that there are going to be very soon changes upon your planet and within the physical construct of your being. You will feel different. These vibrations are coming in, and this is what we wish to tell you about, because if you, shall we say, ride the wave, it will be a grand experience. We will leave you. We have enjoyed answering the questions. We hope to see you again very soon. We are DATRE.